Hey everyone, I'm here today with Jess Sims, fitness instructor extraordinaire. Jess joined the Peloton family in 2018 as a tread instructor, teaching running, walking, boot camp, strength, and stretching classes to over 3 million subscribers worldwide. She also just added my own personal favorite, bike boot camp. And fun fact, when she hopped on, I was like, my body went into shock. I was like, oh my God, I have 60 minutes coming up of bike boot camp and I don't. So I'm really excited to just be chatting. She has an amazing history and background in childhood education, and Jess's purpose is to be of service to others by teaching the importance of the connection between the mind and body, equipping caregivers and children with the tools needed to build healthy and active lifestyles, and making it all accessible to communities and backgrounds. She plans to do just that. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Alexa, that was the nicest intro ever. And first of all, most importantly, that makes two of us. I'm also very happy we're not working out. We get to just chat. Hello.
I love to hear that because I feel like my perception of you is that you're always like working out or doing something amazing for others. And I'm excited for us to just be in this and chat.
Yes, I'm so excited. No, and that's a huge myth. I'm not always working out, I promise.
Amazing. Okay. I think I would love to start with some rapid fire questions and then we can get into more of the conversation. Does that work?
Good. Yes, icebreaker. Let's go.
All right, let's go for it. Number one, what is your absolute favorite move to program in a strength or a boot camp class?
Strength, single leg deadlift, and boot camp snatches.
Ooh, okay, okay. Any chance like kettlebells might start to get incorporated or because I
We're
feel like
always
snatches.
incorporating. I know we're always doing new things at Peloton, so you can't discount anything. But right now, it's just dumbbells.
Yeah, okay, awesome. All right, this one's my favorite question. Your number one favorite song to work out to, like the one that no matter what just gets you hyped.
So that's such a all I do is listen to music. So anything jock jams like Robin, Show Me Love, CC Peniston, Finally, Space Jam. Like I'm obsessed with all of those, like think big arena type blasting over the loudspeaker songs.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, this was one that was crowdsourced and came up many more times than I thought, but the people want to know who does the hair and makeup before a Peloton class? Is
We
it
do.
you guys or a team? You do.
We do. We do our own. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, amazing. I love it.
Yes.
All right. What is some software or technology you can't live without?
Peloton, hands down, especially in the last year. Yeah. I mean, it's community, it's fitness, it's working out, it's stretching, it's for the mind with meditation. So definitely Peloton.
Yeah. Best business advice you ever got?
Who best business advice? I guess it's business and life is be yourself. We get tired and burnt out when we are constantly pretending. And so when you are yourself, you're able to enjoy your work and not get burnt out so easily.
That's such a good one. If you could live anywhere in the world that is not New York City, where would it be?
Oh, well, I will tell you, I have to do some more traveling, especially now that we can start to travel more. But I would say I loved my time in Barcelona. So I would love to live in Barcelona.
Oh, okay. Okay. Love that one. Dream job besides what you're doing now.
I would run a rescue pit bull dog farm.
I love that. You guys, I'm sure everybody here is obviously following her on Instagram, but if you're not, her dogs are, oh my God, what's the new one's name?
Shiloh, and he's the one he was just sitting next to me
Shiloh.
on the couch, but now he's basking half in the sun. This is his thing. He likes to be half in the sun
Oh.
and half out of the sun because it's hot in New York City.
I love that. I'll never forget one of the first at-home classes is you had Sienna Grace is her name, right? The black one. Yeah, you had Sienna Grace like popping in and out of the class. And I was like, just going back to your advice of like, just be you. I was like, yes, like this is happening in my life too. Like this is amazing.
When I got, yeah, that was, I mean, looking back on that time, that was some of my favorite times that I really wish I could go back and relive. And because it was just so incredible. Sienna, I talked to my producers and I was like, should I put her in the other room? Because I lived in a studio apartment at that time. So I was like, should I put her in another room? Like, what if she barks? What if she does this? And then I'm like, you know what? Everyone is home right now and everyone has these interruptions by kids and pets. I was like, can I just leave her in the room? And they were like, yes. And I will never forget the very first class. I was so nervous. for numerous reasons, but I was so nervous about Sienna coming on set. And she literally came in as I was doing the down dog stretch at the end of my strength class. Like on cue, like she knew,
Oh,
oh, down dog stretch. Okay, this is my entry. She started licking
yeah.
off my leg. It was perfect.
Oh my God, I love that. And honestly, it's true. I think those first few weeks of quarantine, everyone was like, oh my God, my dog's barking or my kid's crying. And people were getting so nervous about it. And it did, like, one of the silver linings I feel like is we're all just like, we're all dealing with the same stuff. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you have or, if you've like made it, like your kids are still going to cry and your dog is still going to bark.
Yes. Yeah. There were so many funny things like newscasters that were like doing news from their home and like their kids coming in, opening the door. I lived for that because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, no matter how much of a celebrity you are, or what you do, you're just a human and we all have our own stories. We all have our own struggles. And it's more empowering to me when someone I look up to shows that vulnerable side of them. That's why I try to do the same for my platform. Is I don't try to pretend that my life is perfect and that I have everything all figured out. And so it's really important to me.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, well, that leads us into the last rapid fire question. What is the one lesson that you took from 2020 that you want to keep with you?
I guess it's twofold if I'm thinking really quickly. There's so many lessons, but if since this is rapid fire, I won't overthink it. One, how to take care of myself. I used to think that self-care was another big to-do list item, and I would always put it off because I was like, oh, self-care, and all the magazines show that it's a hot tub with candles. And then I'm like, I don't have candles. My hot tub is dirty. But and then you don't do self-care. But I've learned in the past year that self-care can be a 5-minute meditation. Self-care can be making my favorite, iced coffee. It can be going out for a walk with the dogs. It's just taking time to choose to do something for yourself. That is self-care. So I would say that, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more, but my girl at Peloton who teaches yoga and meditation, Chelsea Jackson Roberts, she says, drink as you pour. And that's been something that I'm like, Jess, you're pouring out a lot right now. You're pouring. How are you drinking? And I just love that visual and that mantra. So that's definitely something that's said that I'm going to take with me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's such a great tip because it's so, for people who aren't, it's hard sometimes when you hear like the lofty advice of like, oh, take care of yourself. And I think that is such an amazing visual that you can be like, okay, I'm pouring out this entire cup. What am I doing to fill it back up? I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, and it can be overwhelming. I was talking to one of my best friends, Nikki, since literally kindergarten. We've been best friends. So say
Oh,
28 years. And she was like, Jess, she's getting back into her fitness journey. And she's like, Jess, you said to stretch and now I'm stretching, but why does it feel like every time I stretch, it's the first time I've ever stretched? And I'm like, well, have you foam rolled? And she's like, oh, I have to foam roll too. And I'm like, Nikki, here's the thing. We are given one body and you've got to take care of it. And that includes your mind, that includes your heart, that includes your soul, that includes your physical body. So yes, it can be like overwhelming and like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things, but try to flip that perspective a little bit because you can't buy a second body on eBay. They don't sell an extra pair of shoulders or a new kneecap. Like you got to take care of what you got.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Okay, let's get into the entire episode. Let's go for it. I'm going to ask the question that we ask everybody. First and foremost, how did your journey into health and wellness get started?
So that's a great question, and feel free to interrupt me if I'm too long-winded because I can I could answer that question in a whole hour, or I could do it in 60 seconds. So I'll try to find somewhere in between. I've always been an athlete, so as a young kid, I played every sport. I got really into basketball and soccer as a young kid. And then through elementary and middle school, I did dance. Believe it or not, I actually went on toe for ballet. I actually don't think I've ever told anyone that. So you might be the first one. Yeah, I advanced all the way onto toe. I was very serious about ballet and jazz. And then it came a point in middle school where I had so many different teams and opportunities to play basketball. And I was really quickly realizing how much I loved basketball. And so I ended up quitting dance to pursue basketball, soccer, and lacrosse. So that's what I played in high school. I was a 3-sport captain. I grew up just north of Boston in Peabody, Massachusetts. Not Peabody. People will get very upset with you. It's Peabody. And yeah, and then I was recruited to play lacrosse and basketball in college. And again, since I love basketball so much, I decided to pursue that. And so I went to Trinity College and I was a 3-year captain there. Loved the sport, obviously, to and through. And then I think the most crucial part of my journey is you don't know what you got till it's gone kind of thing. And absence makes the heart grow fonder. I went and I did Teach for America 2 weeks after I graduated college down in Houston, Texas. So I went from doing 2 3 a days to doing no a days to doing no a weeks. And I ended up, working out, I think like 5 times in 6 months. I completely lost myself. And then ever since that first year, so that first year was 2010, it's kind of been my journey getting back into fitness, and not even getting back into fitness, but finding a new way to get into fitness, because I was not going to be a part of a basketball team anymore. Of course I could do intramural, but I didn't have the team that I once knew for my entire life. So what does fitness mean to Jess Sims as an adult? And there was a lot of trial and error. I mean, I did lots of different fitness classes in New York City when I got to move up there in 2012. And then it wasn't until my former boyfriend, my boyfriend at the time was in the fitness industry, and I saw how much he was changing lives, how much he loved his work, how exhausting his work was, but like, how cool is this, right? And I started to think like, wow, I would really love to do this. I think that I could do this. And I remember having this conversation with him, and I said, but I got my master's degree. I worked my way up from a teacher all the way up to a principal in just 6 years. I've dedicated my life already to education. I can't leave being a teacher. I am a teacher. And he said, Jess, you are a teacher, and maybe you're just in the wrong setting. And I had that aha moment, like, oh wow, you're absolutely right. So now fast forward 5 years later, where I worked in 2 boutique studios here in New York City. I coach boxing, and I also coached HIIT classes. And then I got a little bit of on-camera experience, and that kind of gave me the jolt of like, wow, you can really impact so many more people, Jess. And when I was a teacher, I had 27 students. And when I was wrestling with the idea of leaving the classroom to go be in administration, I had that same tension. Like, Jess, do I really want to leave this classroom? But then I forget who told me this, but it never left me. They said, sure, you had 27 teachers that you directly, or 27 students that you directly impacted as a teacher. But as an administrator, you have 27 teachers who have 27 students each. So your impact is growing. And so once I started to do some, it was, I think it was available pretty much across the country, the classes that I was doing, just like a pilot program. I was getting messages on Instagram from folks from Nebraska, from folks from California. And I'm like, wow, this is exactly what I just went through as an educator, but now I'm doing it in fitness. And so Peloton asked me to audition in 2000, let's do the math. Oh my gosh, 2017. Wow. And I wasn't ready because I was only in the industry for a year at the time. I broke into the fitness industry in 2016, and I wasn't ready. I still had more to learn. I didn't feel confident running on camera. And I just did a lot of work in that year, a lot of soul searching. And uh, almost to the day, a year later, I reached back out to Rebecca Kennedy, who's the director of Tread and Strength at Peloton. And I said, I'm ready now. And she's like, are you sure? And we met up for coffee, and I told her why I was ready. And I auditioned in July of 2018. And I started September 2018, and then I was launched on the app in November of 2018. So I'm coming up on 3 years.
Wow. I have goosebumps of like, I never knew that, that you auditioned and you weren't ready. And I think there's something so amazingly beautiful in you talking about that because, I think I've talked about this before, but I think social media tends to make us all believe that everything is happening for everyone right now and things are happening immediately, right? And like this person got that promotion and that person got engaged and that person had a baby and like all this stuff is happening for everyone. And that just really, invokes in me that like we just need to go at our own pace and learn the things that we need to learn to get to where we need to go. Because if you hadn't taken that year, right, of 2017 to 2018, would you be the instructor that you are right now? Would you touch all these people? So it's just, oh my God, I
That's
love
such a good
that.
thing to point out, Alexa, because I don't even know if I would have gotten it if I auditioned that first year, because I specifically remember going into my audition feeling nervous, like I had butterflies, but I was confident. I was excited. And I did not feel that way the year before. So I don't even know if I would have gotten it if I had actually auditioned. And it's a conflict because I also like to push, I like to say, do things when you're not ready. Like, because sometimes we get stuck in our own heads and we're like, oh, I don't feel prepared enough. I don't feel ready. But then really you're just kind of self-sabotaging. So it's a fine line and there's no like clear cut answer, but listen to your gut. That's the only thing I can say is my gut told me no, not yet. And it paid off dividends. And the other thing that you just said, it reminds me of Lizzo. When Lizzo really got hot, what now, a year and a half ago, when she really, really started to make a name for herself, she posted on social media, she said, everyone is talking about me as an overnight success, but little do they know that that overnight success was 10 years in the making. And that I think is so huge, specifically for the people who love and follow her, because you're so right. We think that of people that get promotions right away, that get the job right away, but you don't see the behind the scenes ever. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, I mean, also I had on my list, like, I wanted to talk about the transition from education to fitness, but it is so clear. Like it is, you were, and it's funny, like we were talking about before, like you only get one body, like sometimes there are a lot of people worldwide that just don't know how to take care of their body the right way. And they don't know how to do things. And I think we love teachers, we love the education system, but also teaching health and mindfulness. Like if you don't have that, nothing else that you have matters. So I think the fact that you're teaching that just feels like such a seamless, transition for you to just be like an educator.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When people ask me if I miss teaching, my answer is no, because I'm still teaching. Of course, I miss the kids and the families. I will never stop missing, and I actually still keep in touch with a few of them, and a bunch of the teachers as well. But I'm still teaching, and it's a subject that I'm so passionate about because of my lived experiences. And especially as a teacher, one of the things that was so tough for me to witness on a daily basis was kids coming in having a super tough morning, and they're expected to kind of just go through their day and not talk about those things because they don't have access to mental health, and they don't have access to a good breakfast before they come into school. And so that was really weighing on me, because the thing that literally I will never forget, one of my students was having such a rough day. He might have even just gotten into a fight, and he came into my office when I was principal my last year, and he was, oh, the look on his face, you could tell there was so much going on. And he looked over and saw, because I was coaching I was training to become a boxing coach at that time. So I brought my gloves to school since I was going to the gym right after. And he was so sad, and he looked over and saw the gloves, and immediately, smile on his face. And he's like, "Miss, you box?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I put them on?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was in fifth grade at the time, or sixth grade. He might've been sixth grade at the time. Puts them on, completely different kid. And that just reminded me that we have to meet kids where they are and teach them according to how they learn. We all don't learn by sitting at a desk. Even adults, like as adults, we don't like sitting down at our desk for, hours at a time. So how could we expect kids to? So it's really, really important to get them moving. And so the fact that I get to educate parents, caregivers, and kids is like the ultimate experience for me.
Yeah. And just meeting people where they are. Like he needed to get out of his current situation, think about something different, and just do that mindset shift. And wow, that's such an amazing story.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about burnout and instructors specifically, because everyone listening, I know you guys are all in the fitness area, whether you're instructors or studio owners or whatnot. And so, okay, Jess, when I was doing some research, I, was Googling Jess Sims and just like reading all the articles out there and everything. And did Jess Sims quit came up on Google as something out there. And I mean, I found it hilarious, but it also opened up a topic that I really want to talk about, which is the constant grind of fitness instructors. And no matter what stage you're at, whether you're a beginner or whether, you're one of the Jess Sims, you're always hustling. So earlier this year, you took a sabbatical to rest. And I found it so incredibly empowering because it felt like it was normalizing the fact that fitness instructors need to rest. And it's something that comes up time after time. Like I had Ash Wilkins, or Ash Wilking, sorry, last week. And she was talking about, she was like, I want to have a baby. I want to have a family. Like, when am I ever going to stop grinding? So I want to kind of get into this topic and your decision to take the sabbatical, your fears around it, and kind of how you felt afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I this is the point where I have to be really honest and say that I'm so grateful for Peloton because that grind in the fitness industry is so real. And before Peloton, I was teaching 7 days a week. The only morning I didn't teach was Friday morning, and the only evenings I didn't teach were Saturday and Sunday night. But I taught 7 days a week, 30 something classes. I had 3 private clients that I saw once or twice a week. And I was barely even having the time or energy to fit in my own workouts. I had to pay for my own health insurance. And it was one of those roller coasters where you made good money as an instructor, but God forbid you got sick, or God forbid you went on vacation where you're not making money and you're spending money. It was really, really challenging because you're always kind of chasing. There was never a good time to take a vacation. There was never a good time to get sick. And so Peloton has changed the game, and we get physical therapy. We have to take our self-care very, very seriously at Peloton. We only teach 5 days a week maximum. So we always have 2 days off a week. We have, what is it? 2 forms of self-care minimum a week. So acupuncture, massage, physical therapy. The entire company has mental health care benefits. I have full health care benefits. So I feel so lucky to be at Peloton. And then the other wild thing that like blew my mind when I started was I get paid time off. So coming from being a teacher where I never took time off to being in the fitness industry before Peloton for 2 years, where if you didn't work, you didn't get paid, I never took vacations. And I was of that mindset of grind, hustle, work. But I see longevity at Peloton. And with my body working out, I need longevity. And in order to do that, I have to take time to relax. Even think about LeBron James, Serena Williams, all the top athletes, they have off seasons. And at Peloton, we are professional athletes. We have to have some sort of downtime to want to be like regenerate our creative juices, because we make our own programs and we do our own playlists. And to get our minds some clarity, to get some space, because even though we're only in the studio a certain amount of days and a certain amount of minutes, social media is such a huge part of our job. And so that can be all consuming. So being able to be away from social media is also huge. And then of course, giving our physical body a rest. So I say all that to say that, ironically, I was scheduled to take time off the first week. So I taught my bad boys boot camp on a Saturday, and then I was scheduled to be off the entire week. Now, it's interesting because your body knows. Your body, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but even as a teacher, you look forward to a vacation, and then you get there and then you get sick. So that's kind of what I was looking forward to it so much. And I had all these great plans of how I wanted to spend this break, but then I just needed to give my body a rest. I had an injury that I was kind of letting it slide a little bit. I wasn't taking it super seriously until the injury was like, hey, actually, you have to take this seriously now. So I did not work out at all for 3 weeks. I mean, I didn't do a single push-up, a crunch, a run, nothing for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. How did you feel?
The first 2 weeks, I felt amazing. First 2 weeks, I was like, fitness, what? Like I just reached a point where I was so excited to not have to work out. I was starting to think of working out as having to do it versus getting to do it, which is my tagline. Like that's literally what I preach all the time is you don't have to, you get to. And I was losing that because I was pushing my body too hard. And I'm 32 years old and I'm like, Jess, I'm going to be a Peloton for a very long time. And then whenever my Peloton days are over, I'm going to continue working out. So this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And what I absolutely loved, and I didn't mean for this at all, because again, I did this for myself, and my Peloton family, my producers, everyone was so, so supportive the entire time. The number of messages that I got from folks that were like, one, I'm in, like, I don't know if you're injured, but I'm injured. And the fact that you're taking time off helps me give myself permission to take time off. Or two, you taking time off is showing that as a strength. Your vulnerability of owning that you're taking this time off is a strength. It's a superpower. It's not a weakness. Thank you for being an actual role model, for doing as you say, not saying as you do, you know, like it's, it was such a cool thing to read these messages from so many members and so many people. And I'm like, wow, this is huge. And I feel honored that I'm the person that can help, you know, shift some people's mindsets on that.
Yeah. And I think so much of it is, what we first started talking about in the very beginning of just that piece of authenticity. Like you have to be yourself, and you guys are educators. You are people that hundreds of thousands of people look up to.
Mhm.
And how are you supposed to get out there and preach like take care of yourself, rest when you need to if that's not happening. So I am constantly amazed by the organization of Peloton. I have to say, like they are just changing the game for the fitness industry. And the sad thing, like that is the norm, that most fitness instructors, especially when they're getting started, are teaching 7 days a week, and it's just everything I've seen them do, from like the way they take care of people to even like the way they handle Black Lives Matter. Like there's so many things about the organization that there's room for opportunity everywhere, but I think like they are just really great at being trailblazers and like taking the right stands. And that is just amazing to hear that you guys are taken care of in that way.
Yes, absolutely. And they're always open to feedback. Again, like that we
Mm,
are paving the way at Peloton. So like there's no
mhm.
other group of people that we can look to, or people who have done this in the past that we can say, oh, can we learn from your, like we're learning as we're building, and we're building as we're learning. And it's really, really nice to have that mentality.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so I opened up a question box for you on Instagram, and the majority of questions were around how you're able to stay so motivated and so happy all the time. And I think I think a lot of that, from the outside, I look at you and I see someone who is so grounded and grateful. Like you were just saying, like I get to work out, I get to do these things. What do you contribute this all to? Like, were you always sort of this way? Were you always optimistic and positive? Or are there some habits that you maybe swear by to keep you kind of in that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I'm going to debunk that myth as well. I'm not always happy. I'm not always motivated. And I think, okay, let me break down. I think the M word is something that is thrown around often, but it's misused. The thing that gets me up every day is not motivation, it's discipline. It's something that I've had instilled in me since the beginning of time, as I mentioned, from elementary school, playing basketball and things like that. Motivation is a great playlist. Motivation is when I see the leaderboard filled with people and with names that I recognize, like, oh my gosh, we talked on social media, or oh my gosh, you came to the studio last year for your birthday and I remember that, like though that's motivation. And so motivation is easy. That's always going to be there. It's the discipline, and discipline comes from your whys. Discipline comes from, and not just your why. I said it plural for a reason, because it's not enough to just have one reason why you do something. If you really want something, there's got to be more than one reason. Because guess what? You're going to wake up and that morning you're going to be like, oh, actually, I don't really care that much about that why. And you're not going to do what you said you wanted to do. So that's why I say in class all the time, I call it the arsenal of whys. Like you need to have a bag of them. So like maybe you're working out because you want to set a good example for your kids. Okay, well, guess what? Your kids are at summer camp this week. They don't see that you're sleeping in. So you're like, oh, I don't need to work out today. But then you're like, oh, wait, let me go in this bag. And oh, I also exercise because it makes me feel good mentally. It gets me out of my mind and into my body. Okay, actually, you know what? I am a little stressed about work right now. So let me get this workout in. Having more than one reason why you do the thing that you do. And everything from education to now is about impact for me. Everything is about impact. And even when I was a 3-year captain, I say that I don't say that to brag whatsoever, because I was not the best player on the team any of those years. But did I hustle and did I care the most on the team? I would argue yes. And it's because I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. And that impact goes on for years. Like I just talked to my alma mater. I just talked to Trinity College not too long ago and talked to the women's basketball team. And that brings me such great joy to see, more Black and brown faces, more BIPOC teammates that I didn't get to have when I was at Trinity. So those are really important things that drive me on a daily basis. And the other thing is, having great support systems are so important. Friends, family, chosen family. And I'm a huge advocate for life coaches and therapists. I've had both. I currently have a life coach, and the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it. You don't need to have something, and I'm using air quotes, so y'all can't see me, but I'm using air quotes. You don't have to have something to need a therapist or a life coach. I personally believe that everyone can benefit from one, because it's just a great sounding board, someone that can help redirect your thoughts. As someone who gets lost in my thoughts pretty often, it's really great to have my life coach say, Jess, okay, what about your mantras? What mantras do you have right now? And I'm like, oh, let's look. And I have like a literal menu of different, phrases that I repeat to myself that keep me focused and prevent me from snowballing.
Yeah. Oh man, I think that's so amazing. Just normalizing having somebody to talk to, and like that you pay for. Like it's okay to have that, you pay someone to you pay someone to like massage your back, and you pay someone to do these things. It's so incredibly important that you also have someone there saying like, hey, how are you taking care of yourself today? Because we can't always be that person for ourselves. And I love that. I think support is just so, so important.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I sometimes would feel guilty because we all have our own stuff, right? We all have so many things that we're going through. And so I would feel bad calling up a friend and talking their ear off for, 2 hours about something, when I'm like, okay, you know what? I think that this would be better talking to someone who is more objective, because of course your friend's subjective and they know you and all of that. And someone that is trained, that is professionally trained on how to de-escalate situations, try to help you with things like that. And yeah, I just can't advocate for that enough. We all need it. And the last thing I was going to say about that actually is talking about proactive wellness. Even something like physical therapy. I grew up thinking physical therapy is where you go when you are trying to rehab an injury. But now physical therapy, I go to physical therapy every week as preventative, as proactive. I know that I have weak glutes. And so I do a ton of glute medius stuff. I do a ton of rotational core stuff because I do a lot of running. So a lot of contralateral work. That's all preventative. That's all proactive. Just like you do that for your body, you got to do that for your mind too. So don't think you have to have a big trauma or tragedy or anything like that. It's getting ahead of the game, because you don't know what you're going to face in 5 years. You don't know what you're going to face in 10 years. Maybe you don't have any, anxious thoughts right now, but who knows? And so if you start now, you start proactively coming up with coping mechanisms and tools of how to cope with really hard things that you're going through. That's only going to transfer in every other aspect of your life.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And the analogy that I love to say is it's a savings account. It's proactively taking care of your health is exactly the same thing as, when we were 5 years old, if we all started putting $5 a week away, like what would that savings account look like, And it is, you can't possibly, once you get injured, be like, okay, now I have to start, because you're in a hole. Like
Yep.
you are then just in the hole. So just start now and be proactive is just so important. I
Absolutely.
love that. Okay, something I do really want to talk about is representation of minorities in the health and wellness area. So, it's something that I'm really passionate about, but I'm always trying to learn and get better about this. So, for everybody listening, if you are a minority in the health and wellness field, I do offer scholarships and grants to marketing services. So if you are, just let me know, hit me up, get on the wait list for that. But I would let you know, your website talks about being able to teach underrepresented communities on the importance of health and wellness, which, we know that the access to education on nutrition and fitness is an extreme privilege. It is. So what are some of these small steps that we can all take to make this information more accessible? And, what are there any organizations that maybe we can donate to, or anything, maybe donate money or time? Like, is there anything kind of that you would recommend in this area?
Um, that's a tough question, but I would say, like speaking specifically about Peloton, we have made a pledge, a huge commitment, and we're constantly trying to because we're trying to unite the world through fitness. So in order to do that, we have to make it accessible. And so the app is available. I think it's still 30 days free, your first 30 days free. And then it's $12.99 a month after that. And then we just launched some new discounts and things like that for healthcare workers, military, teachers. And it's really, really important because it's a trickle down effect. When I was a teacher, I did Teach for America, they talked about this TAL, teacher as leadership model. And basically, to sum it up, it's this diagram, and it shows that what you think and how you take care of yourself as a teacher affects how kids think of themselves and how they perform. And so if we can offer these services to everyone that comes into contact with other people, especially children and in hospitals, hospital workers, where we can change the world. And I think that representation, by being on a screen, by being on commercials, by teaching these live classes, these on-demand classes, Peloton is showing the world, like, you can do this. And we are constantly looking to diversify the talent at Peloton so that everyone can see themselves in the instructors.
I mean, yeah, representation, I feel like, is definitely the number one most important thing. So
yes,
I love that. And the accessibility. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Because now there's kids programs, right?
Yes.
So like that is, kids can look at this and be like, that person looks like me. That person looks like me. Like this is maybe a career for me, which is just amazing.
Yep.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay. What is your absolute favorite part of what you do?
Oh, hands down is I know now you see my dog. So it's nap time is over. Oh, if you could, oh my gosh, actually I need to show you. I feel bad.
Oh, this makes me so excited. Oh my God. When dogs snuggle, I can't, like, my heart melts. I can't deal with it.
They just snuggle nonstop, or they argue with each other, which is less cute. So I'm glad that they're still snuggling. So wait, your question was, see, the dogs ruin everything.
It's okay. Your favorite part of what you do?
Oh, yes. Hands down is the community. Even in full transparency, yesterday, I was having a really tough day, just like family stuff and just, the general overwhelm of a Monday. And I got through my class, and I always go on Instagram Live after classes because that's just been a thing that I've been doing, because I really miss when folks could come to the studio and after the class is over, you go out and you hug everyone, you talk to everyone. I missed that. So now I go on Instagram Live after all my classes to kind of simulate that experience. And so I was talking about class, this and that, everything was great. And then I said, you know what, y'all? I'm having an off day. What do you do when you're feeling a little bit anxious, when you have a lot of uncontrollable things going on in your life? Like, what do you do? And the outpouring support from the community and the actionable ideas that they gave me helped me get out of my funk by even being able to name and feel comfortable enough to go on. I think there were like 700-ish people live just randomly on a Monday after class, just listen to me blab about something, and to give me the time and space, and for them to just say, you always uplift us, like, let us uplift you and let us give you some. I was just like, this is the best job in the entire world. I don't even know, I haven't even met the majority of these people, but we have formed this connection through sweat, through doing hard things together, that we're able to help each other in this beautiful way.
Oh, I love that so much. I know. And I saw that post, the one that was like, the tip of put on loud music and just clean up. And I was like, yes, like that will bring you straight out of whatever you were thinking about. Like, it's not going to solve your problems, but it changes your mindset, and then you can help change your problems. Like, I love that. I thought that was amazing. Okay. We got a lot of questions on the behind the scenes of teaching live. few people asked for a blooper reel. Is this something that might ever happen?
Like a blooper reel of us like messing up on camera, or like behind
Yeah.
the scenes of like in the green room with the other instructors?
I think both. I think probably messing up on screen, but I don't know.
Messing up on screen? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's, yeah, maybe. So it's funny because some members actually put together some reels of us saying like funny, ridiculous things while we're working out, which is always funny and slightly embarrassing to rewatch and re-experience. And then, yeah, I would say, since I already said my favorite thing about my job, my second favorite is just like the banter with the other instructors. So even yesterday, we're starting to see each other more because we're all in the green room now. And so yesterday I saw Mariana, new Spanish speaking yoga instructor, Rad, our first Latin male, so he's on the strength team, Chelsea, Jackson Roberts, Andy, and there was a fifth, I can't forget. Oh my gosh. Andy, Adrian. Did I say Adrian? I don't think I said Adrian. Andy, Adrian, Chelsea, Mariana, Andy. There we go. 5 of them. And so, and immediately, as soon as I saw all of them, I just had the biggest smile on my face, and I put it on Instagram. But yeah, there's the behind the scenes from the Instagram stuff.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay. So we'll be waiting for a blooper reel.
Yes.
Okay. And then final question, what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago?
Okay. 10 years ago, I was 22. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I was a teacher. Whoo! Oh my goodness. Cause you know, what's so funny when you said 10 years ago, I was like, 10 years ago, I was probably 12. No, Jess, you were not. You're not. Oh my gosh.
Do you do that thing of like the year 2000? Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that was, 10 years, like 1990 was like what, 10, 15 years ago? I think I do that all the time. And I'm like,
How?
oh no, it was 31 years ago.
Yeah, I'm like, how? I just don't even get it. Oh my gosh, I would give myself so much advice. One thing that I always, it always bugged me on interviews is tell me about a time that you failed. And back then, I didn't fail. And I'm not saying that to brag, because I don't think that's a good thing to brag about, but I didn't put myself in situations where I could fail, which is so limiting. And in the last 5 years specifically, I've realized that failure is feedback and failure is relative. If I look back and think about something that I wanted 5 years ago, if I got the thing that I wanted, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I'm ecstatic where I am right now. So failure is, maybe it's in the moment, it feels like that, but it's all just a redirection. It's a redirection of where you are going to go. So that's one thing I would definitely tell myself. And the other thing that I would say, in the words of Kobe Bryant, who is just a major idol of mine, is life is not linear. And when you realize that life is not linear, you are more willing to veer off the quote unquote track or path. And I actually talked about this on Instagram not too long ago too, is I hate the saying, get back on track, because one, it kind of implies that there's only one correct track to be on, which is not linear. And two, it makes you feel like you've done something wrong by taking that little vacation, by not working out for a couple days, by eating that carrot cake, which is so silly, because we're human beings and we are allowed and should be doing those things to enjoy ourselves. And
Or even something you can't control. Like, you can't
exactly,
control an injury. You can't control if you got laid off. And like, we need to normalize setbacks. Like, and they're not, it's, yeah.
And when you there's no such thing as getting back on the track, because when you're ready, so say you had that injury, that unexpected thing, you're on a new path. Your trajectory is new and exciting and special and wonderful. So we need to stop saying get back on track, because it just implies too much negativity, in my personal opinion.
Oh my gosh, Jess, this was such an honor. Just such an absolute honor. I'm so thrilled that I was able to connect with you. And I think I know so many people are going to find this just so reinvigorating. And I think that is just, I'm so excited for people to hear this, because I just, you've changed so many lives, like mine included. I always am saying to myself, how you do anything is how you do everything. Like constantly, if I drop something and I leave it, I'm like, oh, how
Yes,
you do anything is how you do everything.
it haunts you, right? I
It
know.
haunts you, but it makes you show up as a better person. And I credit that to you. So thank you so much. This was such an honor. And
Dude, honor was all mine. Thank you so much, Alexa. I really, really appreciate your time.
thank you.